Okay. All right. Well, I wanted to, someone's coming. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Karen. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Yeah,
Long time feels like.
it feels like, doesn't it? Yeah,
Holidays were really busy. I'm sorry. I got behind on many,
yeah, yeah.
but it
They
was good.
just, good.
Family
That's
was
good.
great. Yeah, and friends came over too. Had 4 guests for the holidays, so that was good.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah,
Were you there with David?
yeah,
Um, oh, good. Did you have a
yeah,
nice Christmas and
yeah,
New Year?
yeah.
Oh,
Everything
yeah,
went smoothly.
nice.
So,
Happy 2021.
right. Thank you. You
Amazing.
too.
We're here.
I know.
First week of January.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Um, okay, I was thinking of sharing. I had I have some questions that I've been asked, and I I wanted to share a new way of getting started with the one rule. Um, I mean, there's the way I've already shown, right? Of uh,
like a family meeting.
yeah, kind of like that. Yeah,
Mhm.
but what I'm gonna and I'm not sure if you were here um, when I talked about that people are already using this. They
Mhm.
don't call it that, of course, but they don't call it the one rule. But people are. Were you here for that? Uh,
Not sure.
okay.
Not sure.
Well, in that session, I had become aware that I wasn't really teaching people something they don't know. They are already doing this with themselves every day. Anytime you decide, oh yeah, I'm going to have this or I'm going to do that, you've come to an agreement inside of yourself. Usually there's more than one option, so you come to that agreement inside yourself. And the other way they're doing this is with other people. Even their children, it happens.
Sometimes there's even like a discussion inside yourself,
Yeah,
because like you said, there's different options, but there's also different points of view. And
yeah,
sometimes like I'll have this kind of give and take, like inside my own mind or heart. I'm like, okay, well, this can benefit that, but what if it was a different way? And so there's like almost a little discussion going on.
right,
So,
exactly. So this is not the one rule. Coming to agreement is not um, something that people don't know about. Um, Actually, I made a little um, slideshow, not just the one rule introduction. And maybe I should do that in case, because last time I there were like, I don't know, 42 people viewed it. And so people may not know what it is. So maybe I'll just do that little slideshow and then we'll
mhm,
get back to this discussion.
discussion. Sure.
Okay, let's see. All right, for this, I'm going to screen share. Uh, let's see.
mine.
What?
It's okay. I have a tiny little screen here. I need to make mine bigger.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Okay. Slow computer.
Tech is our best friend and our biggest curse sometimes.
Yeah, really. I know.
It's been such an interesting year, though. I really appreciate the technology.
I know it's helped out a lot.
And you see so much potential in the future, too. So I'm really have a few goals for improving my tech skills as well.
Uh-huh. Wow. Ah, finally. Okay. So we'll start with this. Welcome to Raising Happy Kids Zoom Show, episode 22, the one rule to raising happy kids. During this 1 hour Zoom show, I focus on sharing tips and lessons on the one rule to raising happy kids. Each episode has at least one example of the one rule in action, demonstrating how it helps you raise a happy child. Then we have Q&A and discussion. When I talk about raising happy kids or creating harmony with kids, I bring up the one rule. The one rule equals agreement. Agreement equals harmony. Using the one rule means you find agreement. That's the rule. You find a solution that everyone likes. You've found agreement. You've found harmony. Knowing and following the one rule is all you really need to create harmony between you and your kids. In any situation where there are differences that might lead to conflict between you and your kids, use the one rule. I learned this strategy from 3-year-old children. I was teaching them a complex conflict resolution strategy, actually intended for adults, and they taught me this. So don't think you're in for a rough time. It's simple, it's easy, it's powerful and effective. It works if you use it. I'm glad you're here. Now let's have Q&A and discussion. Good.
Oh, that's a nice intro. That's the intro, right?
Yeah, that's the intro. So if I don't make a long, proper slideshow, then I'll at least like to do that at the beginning. So, okay, so let's see. We were talking about the fact that people are already using this in their lives. So all I'm suggesting and hoping that people will do is expand it to make it a rule, at least with their children, that they will come to an agreement. And there are those 3 statements which are very helpful if you're starting this. The one of we're each important, we each deserve to have things go well for us, and we can find a way to do this. Okay, those are helpful.
The 3 statements.
What?
Those are the
Yeah.
3 core statements.
Yeah, you don't need to know them as long as you're committed to finding agreement. Okay, so.
They're very helpful, though.
Oh,
because
yes.
I didn't expect you to say what you said. It's not just that we all deserve agreement or we all deserve our voice being heard, but what you said was we do all deserve things going well for us.
Yeah.
For each of us. So Yeah, that's a very different concept than just being heard or being counted or being recognized. No, it's an actual outcome. It's
Right.
we deserve for things to go well. Each
Right.
person deserves that. Each person has that um, integrity, you know. So to honor that is that statement says more than just the concept of agreement.
Right.
It is the actual living
Right.
their life, you know, that things go well.
Yeah.
What was the last one though?
And we can find a way to do
We
this.
can find a way. We now that's a little bit too vague for me,
Okay.
but
Well,
we
maybe
can
it can
find a
be
way.
improved.
What um what would be the way to say it that is more conclusive? Because we can find a way means we're going to be looking for a long time for me.
Oh, okay.
So we can
Could
find
be.
a way.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a worst case scenario. But um, because every see, that's the other thing also that I didn't catch in the beginning is when you say it's the one rule. Rule is a really tricky word because it implies some origin of authority, and it
Right.
implies a um, a position of power.
Yes.
So actually, what the one rule is the opposite of that. Is because, but somehow
But it's
it
not,
could be
Sarah.
articulated. No, no, I mean it's the opposite of authority because it's
But it's not.
self-imposed authority.
It's
But I
not.
mean, but
It's
what I'm trying to say is that
okay.
the agreement is that everybody uh is owning the one rule individually. Like first, if you start out, okay, so before there's this agreement and harmony, people need to agree on the one rule or no? People have to be committed to the one rule or just be
Okay, let's
parents on.
go. Let me go into what I was going to share today. It
Oh,
may
sure.
have some answers.
Okay.
Um, okay, because what I was doing right there was kind of going over some stuff which you may have missed.
Mm.
And obviously other people would have too. So uh, one other point that came up last week with Leslie and Batul, but especially Leslie and I were talking at that time. And that is that if you when no let's say when somebody doesn't want to use the one rule, the message they're giving to the other person is you are not important. And you know, people that are dealing with loved ones, they don't really believe that, but that is the message that gets given because like you were saying earlier, you don't get to be heard, you don't get, you know, what you say doesn't matter, what you want doesn't matter. um, okay, so that was another point that came up, but now what I was going to share today is a different way of starting the one rule.
Hmm.
um, and that is connected with what came up when which I had to add to my book, a whole chapter on dealing with the one rule in terms of babies through 2-year-olds. So basically, till the child's around 3. Um, and I realized that that is really a very doable way, in fact, maybe a really good way to start using the one rule with older children. And that is the adult who is the model, who has to do these things first, starts practicing. How can I find agreement with what my child wants? I mean, you can start the other way, the saying those three statements. That's how I started long ago with those two little girls and the swing. And but if you start your practice, maybe before you even discuss it with them, before you bring it up, that we're going to find something that we both like, or we all like, depending on who's involved, or you both like, that's what I was doing, because I was helping them solve their situation. Anyway, that was basically what I wanted to share, that this might be a really good way, because you get a lot of practice. You get to, because a lot of times adults are consider themselves in charge, and they're like the boss, and they are the authority. Legally, they are considered that also. So in order to shift so that, and I was thinking during this last week, I was thinking that's probably how I started. I mean, even though I did that, the session with the little girls, that's when those three statements came out. They weren't anything I thought of beforehand, but they came out when I was trying to explain what we were going to be doing with, so that they could solve their swing situation agreeably to both. Kind of got lost.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying, is that, when you have, I mean, what I think of when I'm thinking, the more I hear about the one rule and the harmony and the agreement, um, it seems like when you start out in that kind of family meeting situation and you're talking about, this is something I would like to do, like how I've seen you present it before, is like if you're in your family and you want to share about this one rule, like asking your family, wouldn't it be nice to have harmony? And do you think that that would be a good thing for us to have? And so, okay, yeah, everybody agrees. And then you say, okay, well, this is a way to do it, is when we make a decision, we're all players in that decision. And uh, what we want to do is have a commitment to each other that everybody's happy with the decision. So that's called the one rule. And it just means that we all agree to agree.
Right.
We agree to agree. And so that means that people are not left out, and that people deserve to have a good outcome, that everybody's important, and
Right.
that there's, with some creativity, everybody can be satisfied. It's not about compromise. It's not about
Right.
giving up what I want for you this time so that you'll give up what you want for me next time. You
Right.
know, oh, it's your turn. No, I did this. So that doesn't count. You have more squabbles. But But I can see what you're saying now as far as training yourself as the adult or as the person who is, like you said, legally responsible. Um, you can think, and that's actually where I feel the Montessori spirit is when you're not just in a regular classroom where it's just top down, top down, top down, but you're actually, uh, you know, stopping and listening to the small, even a small child, because they have an option of what they're working on at any given time, you know,
Right.
what I experienced with Montessori. So,
Yeah.
in that sense or that scenario, uh, you can feel that each person's important, even if they're not more than 7 years old and they don't have the age of reason, you know, they still have what you're talking about at 2 years old, a will, they have a desire, and they have their heart set on something, you know.
Yes.
So, like 4 or 5 years old, I want that toy, I want that toy, you know, you're in the shopping cart and it's throwing everything in the shopping cart or whatever. So, you know, before you go in the store, you know, you agree to agree, you know, and then I'm going to think about the things that you want, but you're going to think about how much money mommy has, you know, and I'm not going to get everything that you want, but we might get one thing that you want, you know. So can we agree on that, you know, before you put them in that situation of all that pressure, of all that commercialized stuff, you know. So, um, so anyhow, I was feeling like you're not, um, you're letting the child exercise their own kind of power because their heart pushes them towards something, you know. And maybe it's a present for somebody else too, you know. But
Right.
um, and then when you give them the power to think about things they want, they don't, you know, we tend to think they're only going to be selfish, but they're not, and they always surprise us too, and it's that's a beautiful thing. Um, but what I was feeling was that when we agree to agree, people are self-governing because they've agreed, they've made that commitment. So then after that, when everybody's agreed to that initial um, experiment to use this one rule, then you don't have that necessary, no, you don't necessarily have, you still have that, of course, the adults are still the adults in the room, right? They still have to have um, overall responsibility, you know. But when everybody else is committed to saying, okay, yeah, I do think that person's important too. I know I'm important, but yeah, okay, I guess they're important too, you know. But and they know that they are. But so when you have those players, all those people that have something at stake, their day is at stake, you know, what you're going to do that day, then it's not like what I was trying to get at was it felt like when you have that it's kind of like a playing field. When you have that playing field set up, that you are in this together and you are all going for the same goal, which is harmony, then you don't have, in a sense, you don't have that seduction of power, that seduction of authority. It's like, I have control over you, you know.
Right.
So I think it's a really valuable thing because, you know, people grow up and they're trained in that way and they get married and they think they're supposed to control their spouse, you know, or they think they're supposed to control people at their job. but you really only have control over yourself. You don't have any control over other people, you know? I mean,
Right.
it would be a much better world if
Right.
people try to do that.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's really important that we can have this kind of education, but then, like you said, uh, the parents training themselves beforehand, or the adults training themselves beforehand. How can I find harmony with what my child wants? You know, and I think my friend, in a sense, did that when her daughter, who's 15, she wanted to have a boyfriend, and the dad was totally against it, and so was the mom. They were both really against it, but the daughter just wasn't going to listen, and the mom was like, "Okay, well, I've got to figure this out because if I just put put my foot down hard, she's just going to sneak behind our back, you know, and then it could get really wrong really fast, you
Right.
know, because she has no one to talk to,
Right.
in that case." So she said yes, but she found out who this person was. She found out who the parents were before she said yes. And she talked to the mom of the boy, and they were very strict. They couldn't go in their own room alone or anything. It's only in the living room or something like that. But the mom, she was like, you have really low grades right now, way below what you should be doing, and you're not putting enough time into your schoolwork. You need to put a lot more time in it. You have um, you have dance class 5 days a week, and you say you don't have time for your studies, but you won't give up dance. When do you think you'll have time for a boyfriend? You know. So, but the girl was insisted, and then finally it turned out that after a month and a half, when she was very busy, and the boy started complaining, and then he started lecturing her on what she's supposed to do, and who she's supposed to talk to, and how she's supposed to treat him when she's his girlfriend. And she was like, "You can tell me what I'm supposed to do and say and who I'm supposed to talk to?" She said, "I don't think I have time for you." So it lasted about a month and a half. But, I mean, her mom said, "Well, what do you think?" And she said, "Well, I think I don't have time for a boyfriend." You know? So that was, what she had originally said. Um, but that was a situation that was kind of turned out okay. And it was a little bit scary and a little bit risky. But uh, the mom did find harmony with what the daughter was really set on, you know.
Right.
And, um, you know, she's 15 now. She's only got 3 more years before this girl is legally not obliged to say anything to her parents. You know? So they're trying really hard. You know, she's 15. She thinks she's 40. You know, but some of these kids they really grow up fast,
Yeah.
and some of them just don't want to grow up.
Yeah. That too. Yeah.
Other kinds,
Right. Well, it sounds like, um, you know, that they, that she and her mom were using this approach, the one rule, even though it, not exactly, and not, not the name and all that, but that's what I was saying earlier. We do it. And I think that the mother made a wise choice. And if they
yeah.
would continue this way, by the time she is ready to be on her own, she will have a lot of skills that she may not have right now.
Hmm.
Um, to help her in the world with other people.
Yeah, and it's not because as parents we know that things are dangerous that maybe the kids can't see. Like, you know, electricity is invisible. So I'm not going to believe you that if I stick my finger in that socket, that anything bad is going to happen to me. You know, so as grown-ups, we do see danger where kids don't, you know, by our own experience or, um, you know, by our own morality or ethics, you know. So I think it was when the mom was just really carefully looking at the options, like you said. She had to, in herself, have that discussion where, okay, this is a very worst case scenario. I don't want that to happen to my daughter. So I can say no, categorically, period, no, you know. But what are the other options? What are the other possibilities? Is that we won't be able to talk about it and she'll go off when I'm not looking, you know.
Right.
And with that kind of secrecy, it would be possible to go in a worse direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she really did, I think, practice what you were saying about training in her own self. And I think that's what we do, you know. We try to find the best outcome with whatever options we can see are
And the
available.
thing about the using the one rule consciously, um, is other people's input is going to help a lot in terms of getting to really what is best. Whereas if we just do it all in our own mind and then put the decision out there, um, we may have done it. And if we have, then we'll see out there, you know, that people are agreeing, yeah, that's a good idea. We'll do that. But I I am kind of recommending that today that we, as you know, as you just mentioned, as I mentioned, um, how can we find harmony with this, with our child's desire for whatever? Um,
Yeah.
I just think that's a good, not required, but it came to me during this week that it's a good way to get started with this practice. It kind of shifts some inner rigid, possibly possibly um, rigid practices, things that we learned from our parents, that they learned from their parents, and so on back into history. Um, so some of those are pretty strong, and it helps if we have ways of shifting that. Um, I guess my Montessori training was a big shift for me. And I've always been grateful. I was not really interested in children at all before I took the Montessori training. Um, so that kind of made me look at children and what's going on uh, differently than I would have had I just had my parents as the example. Um,
Oh,
so,
I forgot to add one thing
yeah,
to what the mom did. Is really important component was she talked to her husband first, and she said, "Just go with me on this one. Just just support me on this one," and he agreed. So they didn't have
wow,
anything, any kind of struggle in front of the daughter as far as that went, because that
Nice.
I think was a really important uh, step before anything went further. Um, that that actual agreement was there too between the mom and the dad, because
Wow.
then it was all more calm, and it worked. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, that shift. Um, I think when teachers, I mean, there's all different kinds of teachers, but there's a lot that are in the regular classrooms too, who learn that as they go, how
Mm,
to make harmony in their classroom and how to make the student feel important. Even though it's not necessarily a Montessori um, atmosphere or environment, it's not any kind of a what do you say, like a more, I don't know, um, it's not that, that's the, it can be the regular classroom. It's not like there's some new system that they're trying to be supportive of. They're not implementing anything. It's just the teacher themselves, the man or the woman who is um, hoping to reach their students,
mm,
hoping to make that connection, that the student can be involved in the subject that they're trying to um, open up to the children, or the student, to get them interested or to hold their attention. So then they try to engage that student. And usually it is because they make the student feel valued and important. It doesn't mean the child can just give his opinion anytime they want or have, a one-on-one with the teacher. It just means that the teacher has found a way to meet the needs of the student, like within their own framework, because they have
mm.
so many restrictions in the classroom
Right.
environment. Yes, you can go to the bathroom, but you do need a hallway pass, that kind of thing. But um, yeah, we're always trying to find harmony and agreement within ourselves and other people. But like you said, when it's really stated and it's really intentional, it makes a big difference.
Yes.
And I think and then when people can add into the discussion, like you just said, it it gets that many more ideas and that much of a better outcome, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Someone asked me a couple of questions. Let's see if I can remember what they were. Um, okay, there were two that come to mind. There was a third one, but I'm going to look at the two. Maybe together we can look at the two. One is I'm thinking that this person was, well, I was thinking that this person was talking about using the one rule in a couple of situations where you hadn't used it before. But I'd have to read the message to find out if it
What was
was
the question?
okay. One is the two that I wanted to look at. One was when you're rushing to get out of the house in the morning and everybody has to go. And the other one was when you're, and you kind of dealt with this in terms of going into a store or something, but this one was in terms of a restaurant. Um, when when things come up in those times, like I've seen, okay, in terms of the restaurant, I've seen like children starting to want to run through the place and stuff. So um, anyway, so I was going to take a look at those two situations, um, and see how you might use the one rule in those
So,
times.
so those were the questions of that person, is how do you
Yeah.
control children who want to run in the restaurant, or
No, it was just if, what was the word? It was like stressful, but uh,
anxiety, anxious?
anyway, that I think that's close enough. But like, okay, like in terms of getting out of the house in the morning, um, I was thinking over this. I mean, one thing about the one rule is that the outcomes, okay, the basic outcome's harmony, but how you get there is as flexible as the people involved, what's important to them, what isn't, what they need and want. Um, so, I mean, we could look at this like a parent, let's say, who has learned about the one rule but hasn't really implemented it. Um, Stressful situations, of course, wouldn't be the optimum way to start, but you could. And you could start in terms of uh, this practice of how can I find harmony with what my child wants? Now, the child, I mean, of course, I don't know what this person that asked had in mind exactly, but a child might um, want to be playing with something, or, um, there could be a number of situations. Um,
Well, like when they need to get out of the house in the morning,
mhm,
um, I think that can apply to anyone trying to be on time for something.
true.
Because I know in my family, when we all want to get to church, my husband really hates being late. Or for some people, being on time is already late, and
Mm,
being 5 minutes early is normal. You know,
right,
that is being 5 or 10 minutes early is being on time. Being on time isn't being on time. Being on time is late, and being late is unacceptable. So if they are the kind of person that being 10 minutes early is being on time, in my mind, I have to give myself a half hour before. If we need to be somewhere at 11, I automatically tell myself I've got to be there at 10:30. And I don't know why that is. I just
uh,
feel I just don't see the clock, or I don't see the time it takes to get from point A to point B, something like that, you know. Whereas somebody who is a little bit less maybe involved with the, okay, in the case when my husband is, he gets himself ready and he goes out the door. But I run around checking on all the people other than myself to see if they're ready and if they're as far along as they need to be to get out the door. And I'm not ready yet, you know?
Right.
So maybe I'm the last one that's actually out the door because I've forgotten my earrings and I've got to go back inside for my earrings. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyone getting out the door, I feel like I need to sit down with myself and say, you know, if I've got to get myself there at 8 o'clock, that doesn't mean I can sleep until 7:45.
Right.
You know, I just have to be able to accept the fact of physical reality. And I want to tell my kids that, you think you can be out the door at 10 o'clock, but in reality, you're putting your shoes on at 10 o'clock. You're not in the driveway leaving in the car at 10. When we say we're leaving in the car at 10, it means you're actually in the car with your socks and shoes on, not carrying
Or,
them with you.
oh, well, if they carry them with them, at least they're out there and they can put them on in the car.
That's happened in a number of times. Catching the school bus. Actually, it's not even. It's because they missed the school bus, and then they're actually not going to be late for class because we are actually using the car, which I don't want to do because I'm using up mom's gas. When they already have their own transportation that they're not valuing. It's easier to go in mom's car, and she's going to take us anyhow. So why try to catch the bus? The bus the bus doesn't wait for us. So,
Right.
so that's the thing, is that when they need to get out in the morning, they have to understand reality. They have to see reality and they have to agree with the facts. They have to bring themselves to that part where, okay, facts are facts. If I have to do these three things, I have to get up, I have to wash my face, I have to comb my hair, I have to put on a shirt, and I have to go out. It's going to take time to do those things.
Yeah.
Those things do take physical time. We live in a place of a realm of time and space. It's not magic. It's not Harry Potter. You know, it's just things do take time. So um, that that's part of growing up, I suppose. And if you don't get that, you have to give yourself little tricks like I do. It's like in my mind, I know, I tell myself, okay, if I'm, you know, put that time 30, if I just plug it in like that, then I'm fine. And I'm where I need to be when I need to be there. But
Ah,
before I leave the house, I have to give myself that, because I will be checking on other things. I will put away the dishes. If I see the dishes out and I want to go, run out the door, I might stop and I might try to put them away just so I don't have to look at them when I get back, you know?
uh-huh.
So there's all those little things that you're not, that you know yourself that well, that I can give myself that little trick of 30 minutes. I need a 30-minute leeway, you know? So
So that
that's part.
works.
Yeah, I mean, you make these little things for yourself, but
Right.
if you're working with other people and you don't know them, then um, yeah, you just have to. I feel like in that situation of getting everybody out, that it seems like it's a regular thing. It's a repeated situation. So maybe you can come to some kind of uh, a pre-situation meeting. Like
Right.
going into the
That
grocery
would
store,
be,
going into the restaurant. It's just a pre-situation meeting where, all right, we're going to try something until it works. And if this doesn't work, we'll try something else.
right.
So
Right.
let's go with this idea. And then, you know, we're going to find a way to do this so that everybody's where they need to be, you know, or acting the way they need to act in a public situation.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's what you were talking about with 2-year-olds, that before the situation happens, that you redirect their desire. Like they want to run across the street. Because it's their will they're exercising, it's a little
Right.
bit like that, that you preempt the situation with some kind of um, more safe information.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It is really good uh, if you can anticipate things and practice them beforehand. Um, like, but if it comes up, then I think that this idea of how can I find harmony with what my child wants, um, or with my children, um, it can be a really helpful practice, so that like a child in a restaurant who wants to be up and about, I mean, it because sometimes I know sometimes there's a physical need to move around, and maybe the adult can take them outside or walk around with them and show them different things, and give them little tips as you go along about not uh, bothering other people or whatever, about keeping your voice quiet. And um, this is for small children, obviously, um, because older children like 5, 6, 7, I think they can in general be at the table comfortably. It's usually the smaller ones that have trouble with that sometimes. Not all of them, of course, but sometimes. Um,
Also, in that restaurant situation, I know that sometimes there's such a restricted feeling that when families go out, I've seen waitresses offer a child their own table when
oh,
we're really acting up, and they just put them over there with a placemat and coloring, because
aha.
they were in
Oh,
such
nice.
a restricted environment that the child, it wasn't like they really wanted to get up and goof around or something, but they just didn't want to be so sandwiched in. They just didn't want to be um,
Nice.
so perfectly still, like
Right.
restricted. So I've seen that where waitresses say,
Wow.
"Hey, I can give you a glass of water. Would you like to go over there? And I've got
Wow.
crayons, a placemat." So that kind of
Nice.
restaurant experience is also, I think, a little bit to do with the formality of being only at a table with adults, or, not
Yeah.
on their own. Sometimes even the little kids, yeah, they might start being noisy or something, have to deal with it, but it's much more, you know, free to be on their own, a little bit separate. Like, I don't know, when we were at the holiday tables, the kids were always at the card table, something like that, and it was so
Right.
much more fun, even though we might be doing jokes and stuff like that. But in the restaurant also, I've seen that.
Wow.
The next table.
Now, especially the way the restaurants are set up, that could really happen. because there are all these empty tables. So,
Yeah, yeah. I think there's only four in a restaurant now. There used to be parties of seven, or you couldn't have more than a party of six, and now you can't have more than a party of four.
oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's really bad. Um, I don't know when they're going to get tired of this because I don't think that's helping COVID get less at all. I don't think it has any relevance at all on the sickness itself. If there's six people at a table or four people at a table, it has no relevance. And if
Mm.
people are walking around Costco eating stuff, you know, I just, I really don't feel like there's any helping by doing these things. I feel like they really need to be less political and more reasonable, with people, you know,
Yes.
really, those protests and different things. It's fine, even the workers at Amazon, they have no way to keep distance when they're putting things in boxes and things like that. My son's friend works at Amazon, and that's okay. Somehow nobody's fining them. They're not getting these big um, fines or threats of closure
Mm.
because they're essential to be sending all of these packages everywhere or something like that. Whereas a little small shop, just because it's a small shop, just because it only has a few employees, 4 or 5 people working there, somehow it's not essential. That's crazy. That's essential to those people's livelihood. That's an essential business, just not because it's going to put 1,000 people out of work, but it's still going to put 4 people out of work. It's just as essential for those 4 families as it is for those other 1,000 families. So it just doesn't make any sense at all. You know, 4 people at a table. It's just
Right.
crazy.
Okay. Well, it's 11.
It
So
is. It's
it was great spending time with you.
really good spending time with you too.
Yeah.
I want to invite Sarah back, who has her boy just
Yeah.
turned. Her little boy David turned 2 years old on Thanksgiving.
Ah,
So I think she'd really like this
cool.
to
That
come
sounds
come back.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to. So everything is recorded on your YouTube station? Do you have a YouTube channel or are things
Yes.
up somewhere?
Only last week I managed to get on Facebook Live, which we are today, but
Oh,
I forgot to record it.
oh,
So
okay, okay.
anyway, but
All right.
today I did both things. So
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, step by step.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Okay, Sarah,
Okay.
thanks so much.
I'm going to be sending you a message. Okay.
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 All right.
All
Thanks.
right.
Okay, we'll see
Bye.
you again next time.
Yep. Let's see. What do we do here?
I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.